What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review. This time we're taking a look at Chaplin, directed by Richard Attenborough, starring Robert Downey Jr. as in the title role. Now, Chaplin chronicles the life story of the great vaudevillian Charlie Chaplin, who is most famous for playing the tramp in the early 1910s. This movie chronicalizes his life all the way to his death. Okay, so without any further ado, let's get right into it. I overall think that Chaplin is an okay autobiographical film. This is not a movie that is any of this is not one of my favorite autobiography movies. To tell you the truth, I think this movie can be kind of a drag in a lot of areas, but overall, it does have some really good things going for it. So to get the big one out of the way first, Robert Downey Jr. in the title role of as Charlie Chaplin is utterly fantastic. This movie came out in 1992 when Robert Downey Jr. was emerging as a superstar, and it's really a shame that in his youth Downey couldn't keep his shit together, because Charlie Chaplin. This movie showed just how talented Downey could be as an actor when he's on the straight and narrow. He immerses himself into the role of Charles Chaplin to the point where you actually feel like you're watching Charles Chaplin on screen. That's how fantastic and just how engrossing Downey's performance in this movie really is. From the mannerisms to to his body language, like Downey really did his homework on Charles Chaplin to the point where you think like you're watching a reincarnation of Chaplin himself on screen. Like and Richard Attenborough really took time together to make the performance feel as authentic as possible, even to the point where Charles Chaplin's daughter, who is in this movie, was unnerved by the performance, because that's how good Downey was able to pretty much mimic the performance of her father. I have no complaints with that whatsoever. The supporting cast in this movie, I think, is overall very solid. You have Kevin Kline, who plays a very famous actor from this time period known as Douglas Fairbanks. He and Chaplin are kind of like friends, and they also get involved in scandals together. You have Dan Aykroyd, who probably is in my favorite segment of the movie, who plays a director who initially brings Chaplin to the States. You can't go wrong with Dan Aykroyd in your movie, and I thought the scenes between him and Downey were actually pretty humorous and pretty funny. Paul Reese plays Charlie Chaplin's brother Sid, and I thought that Downey and Reese have decent on-screen chemistry with one another, and I buy them as being brothers. The overall production value of this movie is outstanding. I love period piece movies, and a period piece movie to me is always going to get a little extra something, especially if they pay attention to detail. And to Richard Attenborough's credit, he really took the time to make this movie feel very authentic with its production values. Now, this movie goes from the 1800s all the way to the 1970s when Charlie Chaplin, passes away. And I thought Attenborough did a fantastic job at making everything feel as authentic as humanly costumed. From the production design of the architecture to the wardrobe and costumes, everything really felt of the time where Charlie Chaplin ruled over Hollywood. Gotta give Richard Attenborough a lot of credit for making everything feel very authentic and real. If I have complaints, there are some story aspects I didn't really care for, particularly when it comes to Charlie Chaplin's romances. A lot of them get really glossed over. There's this one romance where he meets a woman after he accidentally sees her disrobe, and he follows her, and then the next scene they're dating. I think there's a scene missing where he chases this woman down and she fights him off, but we don't get that. There's also another scene where he gets involved with an underage woman, which I thought was pretty creepy, and the underage woman is played by a young Mila Jovovich. I did not need to see that, because this movie was playing her off as being about 15 years old, something like around that area. Listen, it was a different time, but still, that sort of thing is not something I need to see in a movie at all. I understand that it need to be done, but it's a very thin line to walk when you're trying to talk about something like that did happen in real life, and it was more accepted back then. And then you had his other two romances until he get to his fourth wife, Ua Harris, or I think her name was, which is who became Chaplin's permanent wife. And pretty much the person he stayed with to the time of his death. So, we get to see him go through these different trials and these failed marriages. They finally gets to the one that actually stuck. So yeah, we get that. I think the overall now, another gripe I have with this movie is the aging makeup in this movie on Downey Jr. playing older Chaplin. I don't know. To me, it just looks really weird. It just looks really fake and plasticky to me. It doesn't look natural enough. It doesn't really look natural. It looks like Downey is wearing a face mask, and it doesn't look real. And age makeup can be very hit and miss. It all depends. It can be really hit and miss if certain when used in movies. And I think in this movie, it's kind of borderlines on being a miss. Though Downey's performance is so good in the movie, I'm gonna give it a pass. And I will say this: I really do like the ending, where even though where now throughout the course of this movie, Charlie Chaplin becomes really really big, and then he gets involved in numerous scandals, in which he's pretty much blacklisted from the United States, and he has to flee the country pretty much, because he gets involved with like the FBI and things like that. So now he has, and I think also Nazis come into play, where I think they think that Chaplin is is part of the Nazi party, or like sympathizing with them a little bit. So that's during the 1940s. So Chaplin had to pretty much exile himself to Switzerland until the end of the movie, where it's like the night where it takes place in like the early 70s, and he comes back and he's honored by the Academy Awards. Now, at first, Chaplin did not want to go back because he felt that people would not even know or remember his work. But when you actually get to the scene, it's actually a very, very heartwarming scene. And seeing the audience react to Chaplin and seeing him react to the audience reacting to him, it's like, the audience never forgot you, and they do appreciate the work that you did, all the work that you did in your youth. It's a very beautiful ending, and it's the only way that this movie could have really ended. So, yeah. With all that being said, I'm going to give Chaplin a solid 6.5 out of 10. If you are curious about it, yeah, give it a watch. If anything, watch it for Downey, who puts on his A game in this movie, and watch it for the beautiful production designs. Overall, the story is okay, though it could have been so much better. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Chaplin. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. Like this video and subscribe, and I'll check you back next time for more.